Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to what is today us finally going through and doing the review for Arcana Invoker. And I tell you what, since the buff, this class has gone a little bit crazy. So if you're watching this way down in the future, it could potentially have been nerfed, so just bear that in mind in case anything does change. Anyway, I have allowed this one to hit the S tier. We have soloing with an S, PvP with an A star, farming with an A star, and support with a C for reasons we shall get into very soon. To be honest, PvP and farming could have been up there in the S tier. They were absolutely ridiculous, but there's a small caveat with each of those. But like I say, we'll touch them all very soon. If you do not know how to get the class, head over to Join Arcana where you can begin questing for it. First up, we will be talking about soloing and the combo you need to use with this class. So it is a wizard build and we're going to be using Elysium, Numa and Layman. Don't panic if you own no Forger or enhancements. I'll show you a run without all of those in just a moment's time. Anyway, so to start the combo, begin with a 2 and then you're just going to go 3, 4, 5 as and when they become available. Do not press 2 again, because if you do, it resets everything. You go right back to the start. The way this class works is you work through the different arcanas. They go from 1 down to 20, which is Judgment, and you can see them all in the background appearing. They do tell you what they're called. Each one provides an additional effect, so when you're hitting 3 and getting on an arcana card, these are what the effects are applying from top to bottom. They go through, and then when you're hitting your skill 4, you get these reverse effects applying debuffs to the enemy, and there's also a stun in there, which is really quite useful to know. When you've cycled through 3 enough times and have XX Judgment appear, it is now time to activate the world. So in order to do that, you can finally press 2 again and you'll get this massive great big ring appear around you, and you can start to go absolutely ham on whatever enemy you are defeating. Though make sure you're still only using skills 3, 4 and 5. Just spam them as and when they become available. You will do lots and lots of damage on your skill 5 usage as well, and this does scale over time. You'll be getting the world reversed effect. That's actually coming off your skill 4. It lasts for 5 seconds and it essentially applies every single debuff all at once from your reversed effects. Just the caveat being at half strength / length, etc. So just imagine it's just slightly weaker compared to when you're activating the skills individually leading up to the world. The last thing to note is just before the world skill is about to end, and in case you don't know which one it is that one right in the middle of those 3 icons. You can actually hit a 2 and it will do a mini nuke for you, although this nuke is nowhere near as powerful as it once was, because since they buffed the class in general, they did actually nerf that nukey part down 80%. So just remember that. Now, for those of you who do not have Forge or anything fancy, you don't even have Ore, you can just put full wizard on this class and this is the sort of damage you will be dealing. Now let's actually talk about the class. This thing is absolutely great now. I really like it. The only issue with it is if you're going for shorter boss fights, you're not going to be using it because it does take some time to actually build up the damage you need to do. It's going to take you a good 30 to 35 seconds to cycle all the way through to activate in the world, and by then, using pretty much any other soloing class, you will have actually already defeated what you're after. However, the niche this plays really well into is anything with slightly more health. That will take you a little while to solo all by yourself. Anyway, this is literally the perfect class to do because you will start dealing mega high DPS. You will see in a minute I get up to 46,000 damage a second when we stick some pots on, so it is quite a naughty little thing, which is why I think potentially we could see a nerf to at least how long the world ends in the future, but hopefully not, and they just leave it alone as it is now and we just stop playing around with it. We're now just super quickly going to have a look at how this performs with full Forge and pots on. You can see the ones just down below. Sage Tonic, Potent Malevolence, and of course a Potent Honor for that extra DPS. Not that you'll be doing this all the time you go along, but it's good to see what kind of numbers we can actually hit with it. Spoiler alert, we are doing about 150k damage every single time we're using skill 5, so that's really cool. There's loads of 40 and 50ks in the background, so this class really is great when you go about stacking it up and just getting it into this max DPS phase. But as we've already touched on, the problem is getting it there in the first place and whether you actually want to spend the 35 seconds doing that. So that is where you'll have to make your mind up on it, whether or not it's going to be worth you actually using going along soloing. But if you haven't got a solo class, I'm sure this one will do you fine, although I'm not sure why you'd be getting this as your first ever solo class. When we talk about farming, just note I did still have the pots on at this point, but we'll look at some in just a moment where I didn't. You go along, and if you are farming multiple enemies, you'll do absolutely fine. It is a 2-hitting farming class, so if for example you're at a battle under B and there's 10 other people in the room, this is probably not the best thing for you to be using because you will be missing quite a few kills in there. Although the skills do have nice low cooldowns, only targeting 2 enemies is sometimes a bit of a downside. However, saying all that, it does match and if not beats Legion Revenant pace for pace when you're going along farming all by yourself. So I was actually out DPSing and getting more total kills in comparison to it. Again though, with its slow build up, and there will always be that phase when the world ends to having to then build the class up again, you are going to enter into these slower parts. In the background, we're just using full wizard enhancements, again nothing fancy on it, and this is the sort of damage you can expect to output. But like I say, once you've activated the world, you'll be absolutely fine again. So it's whether you want to use a farming class which you've actually got to use your brain on. For the majority of the fight, you can essentially only use 3 skills, and you've got to keep a half eye on when you're activating your skill 2. And I personally, when I'm farming, like to have something else on the second screen or on my phone that I can watch. So you know, it's not really great if you just want a farming class you can just go along and spam endlessly and not worry about what you're pressing. Now, let us talk about PvP. PvP is a really interesting one with this class. So if you go into PvP without the world active, you will lose. However, if you go along and pre-buff yourself and activate the world and go in with that active, you are going to defeat pretty much anything that stands in your way. You're going to be activating a 2-second stun every time you use skill 4. You're going to be doing really high DPS. You're going to be surviving. You're going to have a heal over time. What is not to like, to be honest with you? I really enjoyed using this in PvP. I would have given it S tier, to be honest with you, but I felt a bit cheesy having to go along and preload the class. But there again, whenever you come across people in PvP, they're already pre-potted and stuff. I didn't have to do any of that, other than activating the world, of course, so meh. Who cares? Anyway, the point is, it's really good as long as you go with that skill active and you'll absolutely shred through your enemies. Classes we managed to beat with things like Great Thief, Frost Spirit Reaver, Paladin Chrono. We also had a Yami in there, so you know, most of the things that you'd expect people to be using, you will be absolutely fine against if you are someone that even attempts PvP. And big shout out to everyone you can see in the background from the Icy Guild. It was great to meet you all and have a nice little chat the other day. Let's quickly summarise then. Overall, we gave it an S tier. Soloing was an S. That's because although it's got a long build up, you are going to be doing mega high DPS, so it fits a really nice niche if you want to go along and defeat monsters with higher HP. However, for more standard bosses with lower HP, stick to your void highlords, etc., I wouldn't be using this class. Farming, again, it is a really good one, but you will have that build up phase in there where the damage is considerably lower. But once you've got the world active, it is easily a top tier farming class and will outpace the vast majority of endgame ones you come across, and that does, yes, include Legion Revenant, etc. Although I'd still be using mine a Chronomancer or Legion Revenant, to be honest, for farming, purely because I don't want to have to go along and actually think about what buttons I am pressing next. You do have to keep an eye on your rotations a little bit when you're using Arcana Invoker. And lastly, your PvP, again, if you're going with the world preloaded, you will defeat pretty much anything you want, and you do have a lovely stun that you'll be getting with every use of your skill 4. Anyway, folks, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you are farming this class, I wish you the very best of luck, and until next time, I'll see you all again incredibly soon.